Hello everyone. Welcome to the session that focuses on Qatar's waste management industry. Waste and recycling experts will offer their perspectives on the current state of the waste, current state of play in the waste sector in Qatar. Before we move on to the panel discussion, we would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Davidson, the session sponsor, for their support. I would now like to introduce Richard Davidson, Middle East Director for Waste at Ricardo Energy and Environment, who will moderate this panel discussion. He is a chartered waste manager and has over 15 years experience in the waste industry in Dubai. Richard has worked on various waste and environmental projects in the region and brings a wealth of knowledge and lessons learned from these projects. He currently leads on the delivery of waste projects for regional clients, including waste strategies, procurement of waste collection services, and infrastructure development. Over to Richard.
Thank you, Swalia. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today for our last session on the Qatar waste management industry shifting through the gears. I'll be your moderator today. And before we get started, I'm just going to pass around to all of our panelists for them to introduce themselves. I'll start with Miss Catina, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I hope you all hear me. My name is Catina Aghayan. I'm the Business and Communication Advisor for Elite Paper Recycling. Elite Paper Recycling is just an SME that we started 5 years back. And we have really pioneered on the recycling, especially on the paper and on the recently on the total waste recycling management. I myself, I have over 15 years of experience with sustainability, with communication, and it has been quite a passion for me, the sustainability, the recent few years. And I hope we can share all the information with you that we have experienced in Qatar, especially, and globally also. Thank you for having me on board.
Thank you, Katina. And I'll move over to Samir now, please, if you could introduce yourself. Thank you.
My name is Samir. I'm Business Development Manager based in Qatar. I'm representing Averda Environmental Services. Averda is one of the leading waste and recycling companies in the region, operating across Qatar. And we're here focusing more to provide sustainable waste management across communities, oil and gas, and public sector. And thank you so much for the invitation. And hopefully it will be a very successful session.
Thank you, Samir. And Hamoda, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Richard. Hi, everyone. My name is Hamoda Youssef. I'm the Advisor of Technical Affairs at the Qatar Building Council. We have been working with lots of the people joining us today for several years now, looking into waste management, among many other things that looks into advocacy and awareness and capacity building and technical programs that enhance the people's and planet health as well. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Hamoda. And last but not least, Ramana, could you please introduce yourself? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. My name is Gottipati. People will call me as Ramana. I'm the M.Tech Chemical Engineer. I did my master's in environmental engineering and also master's in environmental science. And I did my post-graduation in environmental engineering studies and also safety course, master's in safety also. And I have rich of waste management experience in India and Qatar. Totally, I have more than 32 years of experience in waste management only. Out of 32 years, my experience, 15 years in India and 16 years in Qatar. And my total experience in India is the operations of hazardous waste landfills, class 1 landfills and class 2 landfills, and incineration facilities, and deodorization plants and forced evaporation plants, and land farming activities. Land farming, this I will explain more on land farming, how it is works. And then I came to Qatar in 2007. I worked for the QP Hazardous Waste Treatment Center as a facility manager. I started this facility from scratch, from the land level. And we bring this facility successfully running condition within the span of 7 years. Now, in 2007, we started with 100 kg, 120 kg per day. Now we are receiving 20 tons per day. This is grown like this in HWTC. Then from HWTC of Qatar Petroleum, I moved to Boom Waste Treatment Company. I started this facility with 15 employees. And out of 15, 10 employees are drivers and helpers. And now we've grown up to 750 employees. And we brought one medical waste facility dedicatedly for Qatar. And this is the Swiss technology. Then due to increasing of medical waste clients, and I bring one more technology from France. This is a rotary kiln. We started again second plant. And due to COVID, due to in 2017 also, there is a lot of medical waste generated from the clients.
Yeah, well, I'll stop you there, Ramana, because I have a question on COVID, so I don't want to ruin that. So let's come back to that one.
Okay.
And I guess to start the session, we've got kind of nearly 50 minutes left, so which is quite
okay. It's okay. Just this is okay. I'm very happy to invite me for this one. Whatever if you need any clarifications, any suggestions, sure, I have what I have. I can provide you. Please go ahead.
We'll certainly be coming back to you on that.
Okay.
And I think, as I was saying, we have the guts of 50 minutes today, which is quite.
No problem. Go ahead.
Generous, and I think we can cover a lot of ground over that time. In terms of the session, what I'd like to do is really start quite broad in terms of putting some questions to our panelists, and we're very fortunate today. We've got 4 representatives from the industry. 3 we can see are kind of working on the contractor side, and we also have Hamoda from the Qatar Green Building Council, who hopefully can provide us with some useful and interesting insights into what the government are doing now and what their plans might be as well. So we'll start kind of broad and then kind of narrow into a couple of areas of interest as well, kind of benefiting from who we have on the panel today. And really just to take a step back now and just to kind of provide some initial context on waste management in Qatar. Now I've been working in the region for 14 years and kind of across all the various countries, including Qatar. So kind of seen the industry as it's kind of progressed over the last few years. But I guess in terms of information on the waste sector in Qatar, there's not a lot available in the public domain that maybe our audience would benefit from. And what we do know is that in the National Development Strategy, the Qatari government have kind of highlighted that waste generation in particular is a major priority environmental issue for the government. And within the original National Development Strategy, they set out a target of 38% recycling to be achieved by 2022. Now that target has been scaled back to some degree to a target of 15% recycling now, and some of the reasons cited in the kind of update to the National Development Strategy were that there was some kind of institutional challenges that that were kind of acting as barriers, and that within the new national development strategy, they did highlight that, you know, key focus going forward on to achieve these targets will be on accountability and performance within government. So I think in terms of benchmarking against other countries in the region, we know with the likes of the United Arab Emirates, they have a much more ambitious target of 75% diversion of waste from landfill, not a recycling target now, but kind of more ambitious. We've also seen recently in the last few months that Saudi have announced a target of 94% landfill diversion. And I believe something in the order of 35% of that will be a recycling target. So, you know, there's a difference in the kind of scale of ambition there. And to kind of kick off our session, I'd put the question to the panelists, really kind of what I guess has been kind of in that context where those targets have been downgraded, what has been achieved in the last, say, 5 years in the sector in Qatar. And I'll start with Hamoda, if you don't mind, to put that question to you. Thank you.
So thanks, Youssef, for the introduction and for highlighting some of the recent updates. So I believe we have two different stories to tell. The one which is from the construction side, and you know, Qatar has been going through ramping up to the World Cup through a huge amount of development and construction. Through construction side, the issue of waste is much more handled with. So we can say definitely that we have more than 80% of diversion rates from construction sites, because most of the construction sites are either certified by GSAS or LEED or SQL for infrastructure. So as the big players like Aghayan and Supreme Committee and Qatar Foundation, all of them made big commitments years and years ago to have these buildings as green buildings. And part of that, and a core prerequisite on all of these rating tools, is waste diversion during construction. And there was a recent publication by Board and GSAS highlighting the construction waste diversion. And I believe overall, in average, I think more than 80% of construction waste is being diverted. So that's the bright story, the right side, let's say the brighter side of the story. The issue is still with domestic waste and solid waste, the general waste coming from operation on a city scale. This is, yes, where we have lots of space for improvement, lots of things to be done better, from infrastructure support, legislation support, to name a few. Luckily, over the last couple of years, we have seen an exponential growth in dedicated recycling waste haulers and recyclers in general. So in the general sense, I mean, Elite is one good example. The Averda is taking care of lots of things, and not to mention, I mean, there are pretty few. So this segment, as let's say providers and facilitators in different capacities, of course, from sorting or actual recycling, or it varies how you intervene through the 360 approach of recycling. So does it end up in another product or just being diverted from landfill? So that we have seen, especially over the last 4 to 5 years, an exponential growth in the private sector stepping into this market and starting to offer more services. Yet something that we did as a Green Building Council and we launched last year was the Al Tadwir program, which was a validation scheme for recycling companies. This came in as a gap, as to fill in the gap and to help building trust into what's happening in there. And luckily, this will be adapted in the Arab Cup coming this November, December, that any waste hauler dealing with the Arab Cup need to be validated with the scheme. So this, again, building trust. So I will stop here, but I think there's more to be done. There's starting pieces. From legislation and infrastructure, I think there is more that can be done as well.
Thank you, Hamoda. So I guess the takeaways for me from that are that there's been a real success around the construction demolition waste, and I guess the second point being that the private sector has really stepped up in the market, and I think I guess glad you said that, because we're fortunate to have three other panelists that represent the private sector. So I think we should get some good insights there as well.
Yep.
I'll move to Catina, if you can kind of answer the same question just around what you think are the successes, kind of building on what Hamoda has said there, please.
I think we have seen a lot of changes the past couple of years. From our side, actually, for our surprise, during the COVID last year, we have noticed the rise of the craft paper, which is the recycled paper, especially during the lockdown. Well, some of the reasons, maybe because of the awareness globally, we don't know, but from our side, we have seen a very high rise of the recycled product, because Elite, we don't only, we do a full solution. So we do the collection, we do the segregation at source, we do segregation in a factory, and then also we recycle, and then we produce B2B and B2C. And 80% of the craft production is exported worldwide, which is around, we're talking about 4,000 tons per month, which for us was a very, very pleasant surprise, honestly, because we were very happy. Finally, the recycling product is breaking through. Also with the Qatar Green Building Council and many entities, especially with the MME also, we have a very close relationship with them, the Ministry of Municipality and Environment. We are all actually working very hard on different layers, I can say. We are really, really working hard on encouraging the community, the companies, the organizations, the NGOs, the government, even the diplomatic circle got involved with us to really step into the carbon footprint reduction and start recycling. I can say from my side, because recycling is one of the components of really for carbon reduction. But we have seen a shift with the industry, definitely. People, I mean, 5 years ago when we started saying recycling, I mean, I think we were only us and maybe Qatar Green Building Council. We look like aliens or something in the industry. But I mean, now community are engaged and we are much more welcome. And here I have also, I want to take the opportunity to thank all the parties, because we are all really working on that towards sustainability. Yes, we definitely see a shift, and the shift is on the rise, and it's very, very promising for Qatar. And I think it's accelerating now with the FIFA coming up. Especially we have done also 2 pilot tests with the FIFA. The last 2 tournaments on the FCWC, we have deployed the total recycling solution at the stadiums. And I think for the first time successfully, we managed to recycle 44% of the total waste of the stadiums, which is a big number for Qatar. And yeah, so yeah, things are moving.
Very good. No, that's really insightful. And I think what was quite interesting for me to hear that you mentioned that the kind of level of quality of materials improved during the pandemic in terms of, I presume you mean that the contamination levels were lower, which is quite interesting, and I think we'll come back to that excuse me, as we go through the session. Samir, same question to you, just in terms of what you think have been the kind of key achievements in Qatar in the last 5 years.
For sure, I'll start that all of us here in the panel, we're closing, we can close the loop together because we work together as our partners. From the way the time like we collect the waste until we send it to the landfill, and the steps are after this. So, but the awareness and trading starting as well from the source itself. So when we are approaching the client, or you have the community, they have the knowledge from the beginning how to sort the waste, how to recycle. It's helping a lot when we read the way that we are doing the service collection later on until we close the loop, we say it in the waste management. So for sure, FIFA World Cup now is an international spotlight, is pushing Qatar to become a sustainable as possible. For sure, it's lifting gear, to be honest with you, I can say it. And for sure, this one is the spots, to be honest with you, in a way that all of us, we need to start working in a way how to improve and how to enhance the things. In another level, other implementation, what we will be from the government in terms of fees, the landfill fees, or any fees of disposal between private sectors. It also can be one of the things that can implement, because today, if people will be having the fees, will be to collect the waste, we'll start to sort, and they will be obliged as well to start sustainable, to go sustainable, and more focus on recycling.
Okay, so in Qatar at the moment, there's no disposal fee or gate fee.
Yeah, I think all the partners knows about it. There's the minimum, and as well, we can say that the pandemic, what happened as well, make us working together in a way that how to collaborate and enhance our services.
Interesting, because I think just in terms of the wider region, we've seen recently that Dubai municipality have recently announced that they're going to introduce landfill gate fees in January 2020. Do you kind of see that being on the agenda in Qatar at the moment as something that
I can see that, to be honest with you, it will be one of the solutions, to be honest with you. With enhancing and somehow the sectors, and especially the private sectors, in a way that to reduce the volume of general waste and increase the recyclables. The COVID effect as well. We don't need to forget, Richard, that we came out from still in the COVID pandemic, which is the volume of the certain waste types went up during the COVID, and waste management had a big role to play, keeping the society healthy at the same time. And this is how the way that our mission is here to educate and to help and to keep the environment clean.
Excellent. No, thank you for that, Samir. And I see in Hamoda, you seem to liven up there when we were talking about gate fees. Do you have anything to add to that?
So, I mean, in general, we know that part of the problem that we need to reduce the waste in the first place, because the amount of waste being generated in the whole region is quite high. In comparison to the rest of the world, it's quite high. So even if we recycle 100% of it, it's still lots of waste coming from the source. So waste reduction in the first place can take different, it can be different strategies all combined, from raising awareness, providing options, or from packaging, minimizing packaging in the first place. We have a problem with packaging. I mean, things get to be too much packaged now, which is something that need to be, it's not with the client side, it's not the user that get the package, they receive the package as is. So that's taking it a step back to how things are manufactured and packaged, then how we dispose. Adding the monetary, I would say, incentive or penalty can work, but it wouldn't be the starting piece. And that's what I would, especially in our region up here. So
why would you say that, Hamoda? Is that more in terms of how the appetite in Qatar?
So yeah, because people, you know, people feel that they are on the, I would say, the weak piece of the circle. So just pushing them to pay in exchange for something. Instead, So if they see collectively that being effort in everything, and the last thing that we want is just collect money from people or penalizing money, penalty now is not, in my opinion, penalty wasn't seen as effective in lots of scenarios and cases in climate action, as more of proactive engagement and actually making people willing to do that. And this is a change in narrative in the whole of sustainability field right now in climate action, that it's not people going that I will make tariffs or make things more expensive so people will stop it. No, because in instance, we are in relatively rich region, right? So people can still afford. So, you know, even if it's for out of luxury and comfort, they can still afford it. So it's not the only approach. And just to highlight that when it comes to waste in Qatar, it's not the same story in all streams. So for instance, and Catina can follow up on that, paper is more advanced. Paper recycling and manufacturing is more advanced in Qatar. And with the help of Catina and others, it's almost like 360 cycle. So you take it, collect it, and everything gets recycled, which is not the case with plastic, which we have huge issues with plastic. We don't have enough manufacturing of plastic. We don't even manufacture glass, recycled glass in the country. So the municipality are collecting glass in their landfills, sorting facilities, but it's not being taken care of. So these kind of things, metal is being collected by Qatar Steel. So it's different from one stream to another when it comes to recycling and diversion and all of that. But from getting back to the customer side, I believe that proper awareness and taking a step back and revisiting how we deliver products to the clients in the first place can help in reducing lots of the quantities being generated.
Very good. And yeah, it's a really interesting point, because I think kind of landfill gate fees have their place, I think, but to really enact behavioral change, you really want voluntary kind of commitment engagement from the waste generators. And do you think what other kind of tools are available in the toolbox for Qatar that might be suitable? Like, I guess just to start off with, you see the likes of extended producer responsibility being something that could be kind of resonate well with the industry, particularly as we're seeing through this chat today that, you know, a lot of the I suppose successes we've seen in the market are being driven by the private sector.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I've kind of seen Ramana, haven't come to you yet, so I might actually, just to kind of the interest of keeping things moving along, I think come back to that point on the coronavirus and kind of the impacts that's had on the sector. And given Boom, you're very much focused on the hazardous waste. What kind of impact have you seen on of the pandemic on that on medical waste, hazardous waste? Have you seen a notable change to your business?
Yes, our business was affected, and honestly speaking, hazardous waste, the collection, treatment, and disposal, and throughout the Qatar, only Boom is holding the license from the Ministry of Environment.
Yeah.
Only Boom. All insoluble hazardous waste, Boom can collect and treat and dispose. And like hazardous waste, which is having the flash point more than 60, this hazardous waste QP can collect. All the oil and gas industries, oily sludges, and whatever the hydrocarbons is more than 8%, this only Boom can collect, treat, and dispose. That's why my all clients, few companies, they are depending on us only. Why? Because only one service provider in country.
So you take all medical waste in Qatar, is that
yes, correct? Yes,
yeah.
Yes. So now recently there is one more company also joined in the market, and they're also doing the medical waste services. But almost all 1,100 clients are there in Qatar. Still 1,000 clients with Boom only. So this is one part of the medical waste.
So and
medical waste,
an uptick in medical waste then, in terms of what's deemed during the pandemic? Was there more waste, medical waste generated? Are the kind of
generated is almost was reduced to 15 to 20% from out of 15 to 20%, and that also almost all 60-70% of the clinics and first aid centers and medical centers totally closed for almost 6 to 7 months. And at that time, ministry also gave a lot of restrictions for us. We have to give only 50% occupancy and a lot of manpower. We have a lot of manpower is there, and we are unable to use them. And fuel cost increase and manpower cost. So this pandemic, we faced a lot of problems. But even though we are supported by the hazardous waste clients, which belongs to the industries. Industries only Boom is licensed, so that's why this was not affected too much on Boom cash flow.
Very good. So sticking with that theme then around the pandemic and with respect to hazardous waste, one of the kind of key challenges that I think most industry has seen during the pandemic is kind of the impacts on supply chains. And you know, we've seen in the UK kind of issues with getting fuel to
the main issues. Number one is we are struggle for the spare parts. This incineration facilities, and we are unable to get the spare parts on time, and there is no people gone India, experts and some other countries, they are not coming back, and the country was totally banned. So 5-7 months, lot of issues were unable. And also during this initial stages, government put too much pressure on us, and they make lot of quarantine places. And at the time, the generation, they are giving all, they are treating as a food, clothes, whatever PPE as a hazardous waste. Food material also. And the wastage of food is more than 70% at the time. And usually we are getting medical waste for, just an example, if I am getting medical waste around 500 kg, and I am getting 2,500 kg all PPE and food waste. And they are treating as all this is the corona waste.
Okay.
And incoming flow was per day 20 tons. And I can dispose per day only 8 to 10 tons only.
Okay, so I guess in terms of the pandemic, then there's kind of two key kind of challenges there. One is around labor and getting the skilled labor to work.
Yes,
and the other is
exactly.
around, the volumes of waste. And I think I kind of moved to Catina in terms of supply chains. And you mentioned you kind of export, I think 80% you mentioned of product outside of Qatar. And did the pandemic have a kind of impact on your business?
Yes, I can. Ma'am, go ahead.
Hello.
Please.
On the local market, actually, we had a few challenges mobilizing the labor. We definitely had, like everybody, shortage of labor. We had to, but I mean, that was a very good exercise because we kind of an expert on how we mobilize our labors and how we optimize the resources. From the export side, the international market, actually, we had, unfortunately, we had a rise in an inflation with the shipping cost, which is really has affected commercially the revenues of the company. Not only us, but I mean, we all as exporters, although the craft paper recycled was on the rise, but again, the shipping cost was, it's continuously actually going up. And these are one of the topics we are now currently discussing with the Ministry of Trade and Business. We're discussing with Qatar Development Bank as to how we can really work around because we know that the shipping globally has risen up. And we have seen 150% almost an inflation from last year to this year, which is a huge jump.
Yeah,
but these are kind of challenges we're trying to really overcome. But I wanna just add to what Hamoda said before. I think the paper in Qatar is one of the most advanced. The paper recycling is one of the most advanced 360-degree, let me say, recycling industry. Maybe because we started earlier, like 4 years or 5 years ago. Yes, we do. We recently, 6 months back or a year ago, we introduced a sister company called Elite Waste Recycling Management, where we collect all the waste and where we segregate all the waste and recycle it. And like Hamoda said, until now, we can't find all waste stream recycling. Like glass, it doesn't exist in Qatar. So and we have other, like we're still facing some issues with the PTE bottles. But we're getting there. So it's developing. More companies are getting involved in recycling. So I think we have a very promising industry in that. But definitely there are a lot of challenges. And one of the things, Richard, I want to mention here is that although the government and many entities in the government, they are really working hard, we know that the MME are drafting a national policy for recycling. But still yet, the sector of recycling is one is confused with waste management, which are a little bit different. And two, the incentive from the government is from a funding perspective and from a policies and regulation perspective is still vague. We are in the gray zone in that area, and almost it doesn't exist.
No, yeah, I think that's certainly coming true. And I'll move to Samir now, and kind of continuing kind of in that kind of vein. In terms of what Catina and Hamoda have mentioned,
and all of this,
basically there seems to be some waste streams like the paper and metals that are doing quite well, and Catina mentioned that there's more and more players coming into the market. I think Ramana also said on the hazardous waste side there's someone new in the market. It seems that there is kind of interest in the private sector and kind of entering into the sector now. But what, in your mind, or what your view, what does the government need to do to kind of take away the confusion, as Catina said, and try and kind of stimulate the market and encourage investment from the likes of Averda, Boom, and Elite?
For sure, to be honest with you, close collaboration with the government was essential. We both need to be agile and adaptable, and I can say like the COVID effect in general was a good example of working together as companies. It was really helping us to work to find the solutions and in a way that to collaborate, because without it was like a challenge for someone, but this challenge we need to come out with something positive. In terms of hazardous waste, Qatar has important oil and gas sectors, also ports and marines. Also, waste and hazardous was generally generated by industrial activities. Also, oil and gas sector is growing. And hazardous waste volume is growing too. Currently, the hazardous waste managed by our Boom, which is as he mentioned, and here's the collaboration that I mentioned it, working together with an example. In terms of private, for sure, government support is mandatory in a way that creating an awareness, helping in a way that to educate, starting from, let's say, schools. We can go to the private sectors. We have it, universities, educations, then healthcare, implementing awareness brochures, a way about also implementation, as I mentioned, as a gate fees for to dump the waste in the landfill. It can all this as a solution, to be honest with you, to force and help the people to recycle and to focus more on recycling and increase the awareness. At the same time, also now public, also involving the private companies to put their expertise in the public projects, from the collections to sortings, to transfer stations and also landfill. It will be always an add value, because I believe always Qatar deserves the best.
No, thank you for that. And I think I'm looking at the clock now, and we just have just under 20 minutes left, and some kind of interesting topics covered there. But I'm going to pivot now, because I think there's an interesting story to be told for me to learn and our audience to learn, just around the kind of the work that's been done and driven, I guess, by the introduction of GSAS and the work that the Qatar Green Building Council are doing. So in terms of putting in place a green building scheme in Qatar, because one of the kind of key things, of course, is to make sure that when you are building new developments, that you have the right space in place to kind of facilitate kind of waste storage and separate recyclables as well. And to be honest, I was kind of working as a consultant years ago and kind of looking at GSAS, but my information's outdated. So I'd appreciate, Hamoda, if you could kind of give us a bit of a summary or run through in terms of how does the GSAS scheme work in Qatar, and what kind of successes has that brought, and then I'll kind of move over to our kind of other colleagues on the call to see how they may interact with that scheme as well. But if you could start us off, so, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I will make it a bit wider to include, we have a couple of rating tools available. So GSAS, yes, is one of the biggest when it comes, especially their success was in the design and construction, with the stadiums as a highlight, and many more, and lots of schools, and it has been driving nicely this kind of green building movement. When it comes to certification and accreditation process. Then when you go for operation, they started the scheme for GSAS operation, but equally you have other schemes that are getting popular in Qatar. For instance, like Green Key for hotels, for the hospitality sector, that has been, that the QGBC has introduced a couple of years ago and is gaining momentum. And now we have a memorandum of understanding with the tourism authority to streamline it further and further. The good thing about building certification in general, that it mandates this kind of minimum requirements. And speaking of waste, this is something that's being mandated and required by almost all of any rating tool that you would use, a green building rating tool, GSAS, Green Key, EcoSchool, LEED, to name a few. And by doing that, you are pushing the clients to commit, and by commitment, engage and empower and create demand in the market. The more demand you create, the more competitive things will be, and the more the market will be more open for excellent service provider to step up and be more agile in their business case. And that's, I believe, this is what happened in the construction sector. So most of the people here, they have working tremendously fine with the construction scheme and construction sector, as from sorting at source, and then having extra sorting facility if needed, and diverting and having contract and sending things for recycling and stuff. Similarly, this is happening in, I would say now, in a good fashion in the hospitality sector, as the Green Key is expanding. So, and with hospitality, given the need for excellency and in the part of the nature of building operation, So streaming recycling or waste management is key. Something that we highlight, maybe we didn't cover before, like food waste, for instance. And in that, we are seeing, I would say, promising steps. It's not as established as things like paper recycling, for instance, but we are seeing several startups moving into what should we do with food waste. We are seeing composters. We are seeing actually equipment that automatically on site can transfer it into gray water that can be reused for flushing, and so decomposing the waste in the first place, so you don't end up with waste. And we have seen a couple of hotels using this technology, others using it, collecting and giving it out to farmers and agricultural areas that can in parallel enhance our agricultural capacity, which is for food security is needed. Yep. We are seeing this expanding in schools, with lots of schools exploring with composting as well. So things like these, and this is where a best case will actually echo along other sectors. So focusing on hospitality, which actually echoing among other sectors, from schools, for residential, and so on and so on. So I think this is starting from, we commit to a certification, a holistic certification, and part of that from green building certification is a good example of what should we do with waste, and trying to answer the idea of waste. And this is where even the request to create a validation scheme came actually from hotels and clients saying, we are giving this recycling, we are contracting the companies, but how we make sure that it's actually being recycled. Yeah. So we took it upon ourselves to create the scheme that validates recycling, and this is the part of the engagement with the network and the wider society to reach higher order.
That's really interesting, and I guess you touched on the business case, and it seems that there's kind of interest from the waste generators to kind of do better, whether that's to kind of align with the green building schemes, the green key, or the new GSAS operation. And I'd kind of come to Catina and just kind of interested to know what do you believe, like what are the drivers of the market? Is it kind of companies, developers looking to kind of push forward their CSR agenda, and what's creating the demand for elite to kind of provide services to the market?
I think so. We are on the right track. Our strategies are really, we are developing more and more. Like now we are launching a tissue factory, and it's all also it's a B2C. It's also all derived from the waste of the paper. So the business in terms of commercial, let me put it that way, it's really growing. I want to say something, that the community is very open for recycling. Yeah. It's just we as recyclers, we need to really join more efforts, and we need to. I mean, I think if we have a little bit of engagement and mobilization from the government, it's going to pick up it's going to be skyrocket. So from the way we see, from the way we see how it's going, because we are partner, we are already partnered with the Ministry of Education. We have over 200 independent schools. We have over 250 private schools. Unfortunately, during the COVID, we had to stop all the activities with the school. But I mean, we had a very successful event with the QGBC, Qatar Green Building Council, and even other schools. In terms of community, I think the community is very welcoming, and they are very happy to see us as recyclers. It's just a little bit a twist of the big corporates like to treat us as a recycler, because sometimes we are being really abused in terms of, I mean, like we have deployed over 2,500 dumpsters all over Qatar, and we do collection free of charge. but still sometimes we are forced to pay to get the waste. Which these policies we're trying to really solve it out, because as a recyclers, this is the kind of incentive we talk about. So I think, yeah, it's a little bit of twist between government, big corporate, and NGOs. I think it's picking up and it's going very well. But community is very, very, really thirsty for recycling.
True. If I can just add up, Richard, and sorry to interfere, but just to continue the line here. So speaking of community, and we have Qatar Sustainability Week starting this Saturday, we are seeing a huge amount of interaction and engagement. And as Catina mentioned, willingness for people to do more, from beach cleanup perspective to and many others. So there are really people willing to do. From government side, I mean, the announcement of the new cabinet, now you have a dedicated climate change ministry that wasn't there before. So it's named Environment and Climate Change. So that's again an indication of how the government will be, I would say, ramping up its efforts. So that's
is that MME? Is that a kind of
yeah? So it used to be within the Ministry of Municipality and Environment. Now the Ministry of Municipality will be its own, and then we have a new ministry which is called Environment and Climate Change. So I think this kind of dedicated action and naming the climate change, it's putting the climate change, not just environment, because we used to have Ministry of Environment many years ago. So adding climate change as a name to the ministry, I think we will see more proactive engagement from the government move forward. Another example, speaking of Ministry of Education, the new Minister of Education, who used to work in Qatar Foundation as the president of pre-university education, is a very big advocate for sustainability. And she has been very supportive in getting all of Qatar Foundation schools to be eco schools. So that's what the commitment that she took and initiated with supporting QGBC a couple of years ago. So again, this kind of mindset coming up to taking, leading roles, I think this will we will see some exponential growth from government engagement in the next near future.
Great. No, thank you for that, Hamoda. And I guess I can see we're running out of time, and I think I'd be in trouble if I didn't kind of ask a question to the audience about there's a small event coming up this summer in Qatar. I think it's the World Cup or something. So apparently it's quite a big thing. I'm more of a rugby fan myself, but we've had a question in from the audience, and I think we might only have time for one or two from Sheila Burmas, and she's asked, what is your general perspective in waste management after the FIFA World Cup in terms of sustainability? And I might kind of modify that in a sense and just kind of change it to be what is going to be the impact of the World Cup on kind of I guess more broadly the environmental and sustainability in Qatar, and in terms of honing in on waste management is going to represent a kind of a showcase for Qatar's credentials. And I guess, Catina, do you want to take that one first? Yeah,
I think because we just had 2 successful pilots with the Supreme Committee and the FIFA 2022 and the whole team. It was really great to have such a pilot, and I think this is going to be like a boost, like you said, Richard, like a showcasing of how we can do mass recycling, even when you have an exotic event. We have proven that how to the whole mechanism of the total waste recycling. So how to deploy public station, how to deploy public bins, and to engage with the public, so you can really encourage them to put the waste in the specific bins. And this has been a tremendous experience, and we have been really we were a very good team. And I want to add also the food. The food is a big component, because we noticed in Qatar the food is almost more than, I don't want to give figures, but I think it's more than 30% of the waste
Yeah.
No, it's 60%.
Like the paper is, yeah.
Yeah, 60%.
Because we know the paper is 24% of the waste of the global waste, and we know the plastic is around 22. So yeah, the food is and we had a successful 100% food recycling on campus and outside of campus, like Wahab, very promising. We have BioBin, very promising. So yeah, I think the FIFA is an excellent opportunity, and the Supreme Committee and the team are really, really working very hard.
Excellent.
With the recyclers.
I better move on. Just conscious of time. Sorry, Catina, to not
I
trying
know.
to cut you off.
No, it's very
I'll
interesting.
just ask this Samir as well. From Averda's point of view, what does the World Cup 2022 mean?
As I mentioned, FIFA World Cup, it will be an international spotlight, to be honest with you, and pushing more into sustainability. Supreme Committee also, we worked with them before, and also we also participating in World Cup for putting all the knowledge and experience, and it will be an example, to be honest, for the FIFA World Cup. It's like a small one, mini for the preparing for the biggest event. For sure, creating a public knowledge in a way that having a recycling in the public areas, as Katrina, she mentioned, public bins, people know about it, and also involving the new technologies with those recycling sorting bins. It's enhancing and it's adding value as well. We have a lot of technologies that we can put it. We have also an experience and examples that also we can share it with Supreme Committee and Qatar as well, involving about 100% sustainable recycling stations that we can implement it and put it in public areas, and it helping as well the World Cup and FIFA World Cup into recycling.
Excellent. Swalia, is see you pop up on the screen there. How are we doing for time?
A few minutes, you can carry on.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've got 3 minutes left. So I think I just kind of just like to do a little bit of a recap, because I think this has been really interesting and informative discussion. I think, the takeaways for me are, one, that, I started off the session by saying, yes, there's kind of the level of ambition in terms of that 15% recycling target. It's not that ambitious. I think something that I've taken away from my reading in the National Development Strategy is it's a very honest document, and it recognizes that there needs to be accountability. There's a need to do more. I think from Hamoda's point, there we see that ambitions there now, and we see, like, with the establishment of a separate ministry of climate change and environment, and we also see with all of our panelists today, we've got a very kind of engaged private sector interested to do more, which is very important in any waste or any country in any waste sector. And finally, I think to continue to your point, you've mentioned that the schools are very much looking to are implementing kind of awareness. There's a kind of broader public awareness being kind of led by the Ministry of Education and the work that the Green Building Council are doing. And, I think we can see we have all the right ingredients there to kind of see kind of Qatar push on in terms of the waste sector. And I'd be interested really to see if we get back together in 12 months' time to see what's been achieved. And with 1 minute left, I'd go around the group just to say, is there one thing that in terms of a closing statement that each of the panelists would like to say? And I'll start with Ramana, who I guess kind of end of the conversation did kind of focus in on the municipal side and the green building scheme. So apologies for that, but is there one thing you'd like to say to finish up? Oh, you're on mute, I'm afraid. Let's go to you, Hamoda, when Ramana sorts of technical issues?
I mean, I would like to say that I think we have everything to move faster, to aim higher, from capacity building, awareness, social engagement, community acceptance, government, I would say, willingness this need to be ramped up, and more private sector to be more, I would say, engaging with the client side and coming up with innovative solutions of dealing with our waste and looking at our circular economy at large as an economy, not just as a problem that we want to solve or to hide, but this is an economy and that can really thrive. So circular economy I think is here to stay and is here to grow beyond the World Cup, which is one of the biggest legacies of their sustainability efforts is one of the biggest legacy. So I think that's it's going full ahead, speed ahead with everyone. It's where we can deliver.
Great. No, thank you for that. And Samir, 20 seconds to see your
left. So I'm looking forward, to be honest with you, for more engagement. We are here to share our expertise, more involving into public and commercial sectors, and in a way to enhance. We have a lot of opportunities coming soon. Public also in commercial sites, and we are here to help.
Excellent. No, thank you for that. And Catina, do you have a last 10, 20 seconds to wrap up from your side?
Oh, should I be privileged? Thank you. I think we have a very, like Hamoda said, it's going very fast. We're going to see very accelerated recycling industry from now until 2022, and even after that. We are really, we are very happy and very enthusiastic. I think we're growing very fast. And together we will really, all of us, recyclers, waste management, government, NGOs, it will pick up soon.
Excellent. No, thank you. And I think we have Ramana back to close us out. Can you?
Okay, we are here to serve you, and we are always in the front line to do our best services. So whatever you need, any support, anything, we are here.
Excellent. No, thank you, Ramana. And over to you. I just say thank you very much to all the panelists. I thought that was a really interesting, broad session we had today. I think there's a lot of kind of positives to take from that. And thank you to the audience for listening in as well.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swalia. That was very interesting.
Thank you for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For engaging conversation. Richard, thank you for moderating this session. And as we know, this is the last panel for the day, and I'd like to thank all those who attended various sessions through the day. Hope you all enjoyed the conference. We'd also like to take a moment to thank all our sponsors and partners, including the diamond sponsor, Recycling, gold sponsors, Alvaric Equipment and Finance Solutions, silver sponsor, TCL, session sponsors, Kettles and NG Solutions, technology partner, Facilio, and supporting partners, Mehma and Doha Housekeepers Group. With this series, Qatar comes to an end. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye now.
Good evening. Bye.
Good evening. Bye.